everyone. We're just going to begin by waking up our energy and connecting, right, to our heart space. So let's just rub the palms together. Rub, 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 rub. Feel that heat. Breathe. And let's bring the palms of the hands one over the other. On top of that heart space, feel that heat radiating into our heart spaces. Close those eyes down if it feels comfortable. Just start to notice the breath in this moment. Right. Notice your heart beating. Notice the warmth from the hands, again, just radiating into that heart space. And we're going to take a big inhale through the nose, filling the belly, drawing it up towards the heart, pausing, and then slowly exhale through the nose. Inhale through the nose, fill the belly. Pausing. And slowly exhale through the nose. One more. Inhale, fill the belly. Bring it up to that heart, pause. And slowly exhale. Just come to normal breath. Take a moment here. Just connecting to your heart space. Brian and I are just calling in, right? Our guides, our wisdom to lead us this evening in sharing something special with you guys this evening. And let's all in this moment bring in something that we are grateful for, right? Gratitude is the easiest way to connect to our heart space. And just whatever you're grateful for in this very moment, breathe that into your heart. As you exhale, we're just going to plant that gratitude there. And just let it grow throughout the evening. Let's take one more big breath in. Open the mouth side out. And let's bring the hands down, start to open the eyes, come into the space. Hopefully everyone's feeling more grounded and just connected to the heart in this very moment. And I'm going to let Brian start since I've been talking.
Okay, well today, or I guess on this live video, we kind of just want to open up of like why we started doing this and like what our intentions are for doing it, as just like get more of an understanding of like why is Brian and Monique going live all the time? What are they talking about? And blah blah blah. So yeah, I'll just kind of start with maybe like a little story and then kind of like what brought me into like wanting to do these. So
hey, wait, one thing. Can you tell them how we are related since
we
have
way
the
back.
Same last name?
You start from the real start. So this is my aunt Monique. It's my dad's sister, so on my dad's side. And yeah, she's been a part of my life, and before I can even remember. She was like staying at my parents' house, and
I think you were 3.
3?
Or 4.
Yeah,
I think you were 3 or 4.
You moved from New York when you're like 18 to live in California, which is where all of our family's based out of and from, and a lot of them are still there. And Monique came to California to live with my mom and my dad in Truckee, which is when I was 3 years old. Yeah. So you babysit us a lot. You serve us a lot. You do all the things. So me and you have been connected for a really long time as far as like, even family goes. A lot of my family and your family is over on the East Coast. So there's not like a lot of like physical connection of that. And it's just like, I'm very grateful to have you in my life. But yeah, so then, you then moved to Grass Valley or then you went to college at SF. Was that before or after?
I did. I went to college before, actually.
Before.
And then, I was with you guys for a couple of years, moved to Grass Valley, and then I was always around, basically, right? Like, I watched Brian grow up. I watched his friends grow up, and Brian and I always had a connection. His sister also, right, 2 years older. I was around her a lot, too, and, like, we have a connection as well, but it's different. Brian spent some time with my husband and I in our home after you graduated high school. And my husband was in the music scene, electronic music scene. And as was Brian, and his friends were starting to get into it. And Graham kind of was a bit of a mentor here and there for some of them. 100%. So that's, even though Brian and I are however many years apart, we ended up kind of like falling into the same scenes as far as, I don't know, the music scene and that like alternative lifestyle. We were both stoners and, again, different times, but similar kind of, I don't want to say like life, but in like a way,
journey, right? The journeys definitely could.
Yeah, like we both really like music is a big part of what feels good for us in a way for us to express ourselves as like movement goes. We really both enjoy moving our body, and for me, like music, like listening to it has always been something that has brought me or helped me feel connected and in community with other people around me, really, right? Mm-hmm. Like-minded people at the time. I still love all the music that I did in the past, but part of my journey also with music was the journey of substances, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this all comes into play.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess to bring it back is like I had a few friends pass away and more recently, and I just kind of started to realize the path that I was going down was like a shorter path. And was like, okay, this is getting scary. I reached out for help a couple times and then it diverted back into like the way. So I was like awake. I was like waking up, but still like really scared of the change. And, then that's when me and you even got more involved. And I remember calling you like the day in my room and I was like, yo, like this is all messed up. Here's it all. And I just laid it all on the table to you. All of my traumas and what I went through and like where, what I've been doing and like all of the things. And I want to get better. I want to like actually wake up.
So just so everyone knows, do you want to just tell them a little bit of like, we didn't really tell anyone that we were talking about like, I guess, substance abuses, right? I kind of touched on it, but like, if you want to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Totally. It definitely got to the, like, I was like really young in like the music festival scene, and my parents gave me the wings to like explore, which I'm so grateful for. And they supported that. And I had a lot of friends that were really good friends, above me that were like taking me to these festivals, and dad-like figures where they took care of me. They made sure they were watching me. They knew what I was doing, where I was going, staying next to them. I mean, I was only 15, years old when I was going. That was when me and Charles went to our first one in Oregon. And so I was always like in the scene, and I was always around lots of drugs. You know, I was 15 hanging out with 30-year-olds. Like they're already doing whatever they're doing. 20-year-olds, they were much older than me. And I experimented with psychedelics like here and there. It was super uncomfortable in my body, and like, you know, went through all of like the, whoa, what is this? You know? And then it got to the point where I moved and was kept, and then I found out, okay, well, you know, I'll drink because they're drinking, and you know, everyone's drinking, I'll drink. So I started drinking, and I don't like drinking. I don't like the feeling of being drunk. I just don't like the dissociate that it involves me in my own body, and I get really tired, and I'm not like a happy go like, oh yeah, let's go do this. It's like, so when I would drink, then I was like found cocaine, and I was like, oh, cool, like I can get back to where I was at. You know, I was like, oh, I'm drinking because I'm going along with everyone's drinking, whatever. And then, oh, I could do this, and it could kind of bring me back up. And then I found out what cocaine was really doing and got even more into it, you know, and was like, oh, wow, like, you know, I thought it was making me like my truest self. Like I thought I could go and talk like a lot about myself. You know, like I was just like, oh, I'm shy. I don't seem shy, but when I'm in a social setting, I have like a lot of anxiety, social anxiety, and a lot of people can relate to that. So to suppress that, because these shows that we're going to were like very high stimulating already. Like the lights are already a lot, and like the conversations and the loudness and the music is already stimulating enough. And I would always just get like a little bit uncomfortable. So again, the cocaine was making me be able to go out all the time and like be talking and stay out even later to hang out later, because little did anyone know, I didn't want to go home by myself. Like I didn't want to be there alone. So I was out in the club until the last person left, because then I'm not alone. Like I can be sharing this like really weird connection of like, I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. I know what's going on. You know, let's just like keep doing what we're doing and being here and just dissociating together.
I really like the way you explain that. That's why I'm like giggling, because I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, right? Like I can so relate to everything you're saying. So I hope other people, you know, go on. Sorry.
You know, and so then at that point, it got really dark, you know, and that was like, it was years where it was dark that I didn't really notice it was, because I was like hiding it. So it's like, okay, well, if anyone else is not saying it's dark, then it's not dark, right? Because like they're looking for validation in other people. So if they're looking at me like I'm fine, well, then I'm probably fine. But like, I just started to not want to go out when I, you know, did cocaine. I started wanting to be by myself. I thought that I would like be really into music and making a lot of good music. And then like that even started just dissipating. I mean, I never really was when I was all messed up. I don't think you really can make like really hard.
It's like you end up talking about all the things you want to do, or the music you want to make, or how you could make it, or right? And then like, or at least for me, like I felt like I spent so much time like talking about this reality that wasn't actually there.
Totally. And you know, so and then like when I say it didn't really get to the music anymore, because I just like do that by myself and try to make beats like for hours, you know, nothing would come of it, but I'm just like really high by myself, you know. And to get even more vulnerable, and I do want to bring this up and talk about it, because it's something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, but I know a lot of people suffer it, is like pornography, you know. And like that was something that it was introduced when I was really young, and so I just picked up this habit of quick, you know, stimulation, dopamine in my body. And so when I would be by myself or like, you know, doing cocaine all night, then it wouldn't be making beats. It would just be, you know, pornography. And then that was just like a really dark place for me, you know? And again, I know that's like pretty vulnerable, but I'm not worried about being like really open about it, because it's like, you know, people are talking about this a lot. And like, if you want to go out there, you could find information about how many people are talking about this and did go through it and are going through it. And, it's just like, this is a safe space, and I know it is. And it's just like, something that I was really heavily like tampered down by. So then at that point I was like, you know, in a really bad place, and then just was like, you know what, I'm just not gonna drink, and I went to cocaine. Like, is kind of where this all stemmed from, because I knew how bad it
That's
was.
right. Yeah.
That, like, that drug in my system was just like really bad, and it brought out like a lot of dark things, which, you know, is heavy. So then I just wouldn't drink, and then that's where that journey started, where then all of a sudden I would be like, oh, you know what, I think I'm fine. I think I'm good. I think I got this. Like, you know, I went like a couple months, I'm good. You know, I'll have a drink, and I won't do cocaine. I'll be fine. And then boom, had a drink. I'm super lightweight. One drink later, I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, let's get another one, and then let's go get the bag, and then let's go back to our old habits. And it just got really repetitive, the same pattern, and continuously waking up wanting to change. Just that was like the hardest part of like knowing that I wanted to change so bad, but I just couldn't do it. Like, something in me was like, I'm keep going back.
I feel like part of it too, with especially, I mean, that Coke is just like, you just want more, you know? But it's also, we're scared of the unknown, right? And I feel like that's part of something that holds people back. And sometimes it's hard to realize, you know, like I remember in the beginning, it was like, or at times when I had tried to stop drinking and like doing other substances, it was like, well, what, like, I don't know what life is like without this. It was almost challenging. And then it was like, I don't know if I want to release like these people or like the things I'm doing. I was like, I can't go to the bar. I can't go see music. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, this is scary, right? And I had gone through a time where I tried to stop drinking because I would just be crazy. Basically, I was like the crazy girl, like the hot mess, right? Like that was me, straight up. And you never knew. Like, it was like, who's she going to be tonight? Like, I could be really nice, or I could be completely off the walls.
Yeah.
Right? And even that, right? Like, think about, for you too, it was like, even those moments of like, oh my God, this doesn't feel good, and we knew it didn't feel good, it was still hard, right?
Yeah.
To shift. You really have to be reminded, and I don't know exactly how it clicked. Like, everyone is always like, how did you? Because I just like stopped, right?
Yeah.
I had one really fucking bad night. I woke up the next morning. I did not want to be alive. I did not know what happened. People were pissed at me. The guy I was dating wanted nothing to do with me. And I was just like, this keeps happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again, and I'm expecting different results.
Yeah.
And I had a moment of fucking clarity.
Yep.
A moment. I'm talking like a smidget, okay? Because I'm still hungover, right? The next day. A smidget of, oh my God, if I don't do something different, I'm not going to change. This is never ending. And that's when I was like, I'm going to do the one thing I never did before. I'm actually going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to,
and I did.
Like, the responsibility into your, like, it's you, right? Like, that was, it was like.
And I had to stop. I had to not go to the bar. I had, you know, not do that, not put myself in the situations, until one night I was like, I think it was a month later, a little over a month, I was like, I really want to go see some music. I'm going to go out, and I'm just going to, like, I drank a bunch of that. It's like, it's a ginger ale, but it's like really sweet.
Oh, okay. Like a ginger beer?
And it comes in and it's like, you know, it doesn't have any alcohol in it.
Like,
and it
comes,
it
looks like an alcohol bottle though. Yeah.
It looks like an alcohol bottle. So I'd get that bottle, I'd rip the label off, and I'd have that. And I would I drank so many of those. I had like the craziest sugar high, but it helped me be like, oh, okay. Right. And that's when I noticed that I have anxiety.
Yeah.
So I love that you brought up, right? You're like, I feel really uncomfortable when I'm out, and like that's part of it. And we don't sometimes realize that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. A huge part of it for sure. And like, to then when you get that uncomfortable feeling, you drink. But what a different path is like breath, and breathing, because everyone's getting overwhelmed. Everyone's anxious. Everyone's like, there's a lot going on. And, instead of like trying to just be connected to yourself and ground yourself, you like dissociate even more so you could get rid of that feeling. So that's kind of where I noticed heavily where it stemmed from inside of me. And then I could easily see that it was going on with a lot of other people too. So yeah, definitely a big piece there is the anxiety. But yeah, then after, I had a moment of clarity like you did, it was just a smidget as well. And boom, I was able to like at least start to work on getting better. Would go back, a huge friend passed away, was like, oh, he would want me to have a drink. He would want me to like do this and do that. And so went to the memorial, was super fucked up, then relapsed, and then got back into it. And then was finally just like, yeah, no, this is enough, and went to therapy and really sought like support and help. So yeah, that's kind of my like whole roller coaster of, oh, how'd you get right here right now? But yeah.
And again, the reason we're sharing this is so you guys have kind of a little background of like why, for those who don't know us. And, I was right alongside Brian when he was like going through all this stuff. And once your friends started passing away, so we all know, right? It's a big thing that everyone knows about nowadays is there's fentanyl in a lot of drugs that, people are doing that I used to do back when I used to do them. It wasn't as much of a concern. And if it had been a concern, I wouldn't be here right now. Yeah. Like, I know that, right? I'm really lucky to be alive, honestly, over the stupid things that I've mixed, and other people have not made it this far. And, when Brian was going through all this stuff, it was really hard to watch, but I was really glad that he knew he could trust me, and that, right, there was like no judgment, but I was very scared because of the fentanyl thing. And I was very grateful once you started, kind of being like, okay, I really can't do this. This isn't serving me anymore. And as, again, like Brian and I are in each other's lives, like I know his friends. And so once certain people started passing away before they were in their 30s, before they were 27, like, it just got to a point where Brian and I were like, we can't sit here and not do anything. And we don't know exactly like how this all is going to play out or exactly what we're doing. And like the thing we do know is that we want to start just sharing the conversations that him and I had that helped him, right, on his journey, and that hopefully will help other people to know that, yeah, it's scary sometimes to be maybe the only one in the friend group who's like, wait a second, this isn't feeling right anymore. And like, who do I talk to about this? Because everyone else seems okay.
Yeah.
Right? And it's okay if you feel like that. And if you don't feel like you could talk to your friends, like reach out to someone else, or right? Like that's why we're here. Especially because what this all comes down to is the fact that we as humans in general, right, lost this connection with our own bodies to learn we we reprogrammed our being to think it needs all this other shit to like feel good and calm ourselves and like self-regulate, right? Like I taught myself from a young age, like 14, for 15 years, that when anything happened, when I was stressed, when I was anxious, anything that I couldn't handle, I just, okay, getting back to where I was, if I get back on my train of thought, is, right, we just lost and forgot the wisdom that's inside our own bodies, right? We retaught ourselves that in order to feel okay and deal with stress and whatever, that we need to numb ourselves or use these other substances. Some people use food, right? Some people use sex. Some people use gambling. It's all these things. Exercise, right? Some people just like can't stop doing anything. And part of that is because we forgot that we don't need anything outside of ourselves, right? We have all our tools in here. And if we just learn how to use our breath, if we learn how to be mindful, and also talking in community, that's like another part of this, is being able to connect with other people and listen to each other, because you're like, oh my God, I totally understand. Oh my gosh, I've felt that way, right? Like when I started realizing, I like thought I was the only person who, oh my God, like what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Like I hate myself. I don't even know what happened, you know? But like no one was talking about that. Like no one would come to me and be like, yo, I feel like shit about, like, I don't know. People didn't do that. Right? Yeah. It's one of those things where we silently, and then we all pretend we're okay.
Yeah, and then especially like with social media nowadays too, it's just like then you're getting fed all this like positivity, and it's just like, okay, I'm all about positivity, but like there's not a lot of like realness in that, of like there's no one posting a picture and saying, oh, I had a bad day. There's someone posted, oh, I'm in Morocco like drinking on some champagne or something like that, and it's like whatever. So yeah, it gets like, you know, also like, go ahead.
No. What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like there's something like that's happening right now where like people are like actually seeking like realness, like real connection. People are seeking like real conversations, more at least than when like, you know, than I've noticed. I've been seeing like, and maybe it's just me seeing it, but I feel like a lot of more people are, they want to see like the day to day, like they want to see what you're doing, where you came from, where this is like how you came from, like it's just more realness, you know, rather than just like the fake that people were at one point in time.
A good example of that too is like, okay, think about when someone asks you how you are, right?
Yeah.
How are you? And you're like, I'm good. It's like an automatic fucking response, right?
For sure.
And I had like a really, so many years ago, I was probably, 2 or 3 years into like my sobriety, and I was still like learning, right? I was learning that no one's fucking happy all the time. Like I had this like weird idea in my mind that like people were happy all the time, because that's what I saw. And no one ever said, when I said, how are you? No one was ever like, I'm fucking shitty today.
Yeah.
You know, like, everyone's always like, oh yeah, I'm fine. And you're like, okay, right? And then I just say, I'm fine. And I had a woman go, no, really, how are you? Yeah. And she's like, you don't have to tell me you're fine all the time if you're not. Like, I'm your friend. I want to know. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. And it was just like an automatic response. And I notice, I'm not the only person that does that or has done that. You know what I mean?
Totally. And it's just like a lot of people that do, when you do say that, they'll be like, yeah, yo, same. Like, I'm not doing too well either. Like, so it kind of is, there's that fear of like, oh, if I say my problems, that person's going to be like, oh, I'm great. Then what is my ego going to feel like? Like, what's that going to do in my body? But most you'll find out that a lot of the times once you get real, then like that person will be like, oh, okay, wow, yeah, like he's being vulnerable. Well, I'll be vulnerable too.
Yeah, and it helps us be honest with ourselves too, right? Because if we're saying we're fine all the time, sometimes we convince ourselves, right, that everything is okay. And it's like, oh, sometimes it's not, you know. I'm at this point in my life where I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, like shit's not okay. But I'm okay with that. You know, like I'm going through the things, but I could still like get up. I could still go for a walk. You know, there's certain levels of self-awareness and just like honesty. And also when you have someone, even if it's just one other person that you could be like that with, it's so helpful.
Yeah.
So helpful.
For sure. Yeah.
That's why I like this and like group stuff.
Yeah, and I mean that's like to like bring it back to like why we're doing this is like that exactly is right. Like having somebody, because when I was on I'm on it, but when I in the beginning, like having people and hearing people speak about their issues, like normalized it for myself and was like, okay, wow, like I feel more comfortable to be able to talk about this more publicly, like or with a friend, because I feel like I'm not alienating myself, you know. And that's like a big thing that therapy brought me, was like if there like that was like the first big thing that like broke through in me when I was in there, was like her looking at me and being like, yo dude, like that's normal, bro, like I don't know why you're so hard about this. And I'm like, what? Really? And she's like, yeah, for sure, like that's like it's not silly that you are, but I just want you to know that like, you know, you don't need to beat yourself up about that so much, because a lot of people are going through that. So and it's like if me and you can like be here and show up and like have these conversations, that just opens up so much more of a book for other people to go out there and have conversations, because literally that's exactly what's happening here. That's what someone else did, and that's why we're here right now. So it's just like domino effect of that.
Yeah. And that's like, I just remember like when I started on my journey, I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, the grass is greener on the other side. Like life is easier. Life is still life. Like shit's still happening, but it's easier, right? It's like,
because you know how to like deal with it in like a less like
destructive way.
Oh my God, I was gonna say disastrous or something like that. Destructive was the word I was looking for. I'm like, is disastrous even a word?
A destructive disaster.
It's like, oh, you have a bad day, and it's like then you're gonna make it way worse. Trust me, I've seen it. Like literally have seen it within close corridors of people being like, oh, I'm having a shitty day, let's go to the bar. Oh, now you could end up literally behind bars. Like, you know, you just don't know what could happen. So like you're saying is, when you do have these bad days, they're always going to happen, but how fast are you going to be able to bounce back from it? And are you going to be living and like coming from that place in the past that is destructive? Or are you going to be able to shift that awareness to like, oh, wow, let me breathe. And let me like notice like gratitude is a huge thing I'm working on right now. Like everything's obviously not that bad. I have two hands, whatever it is like, all right, cool. Like, you know, we can really like, change that mindset and not be so destructive.
Yes. And that's right. I like that you brought that up too, because I feel like a big part of it is reminding everyone that we actually have a choice.
Yeah.
Some people hate when I say that.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, no.
We really do. And I remember when I first learned about the fact that I have a choice in the way I choose to react to anything, myself, life, other people. I was like, I'm like, yeah, okay. Because I have to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was like,
your ego needs to get let down. Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I'm like, well, you know, and again, for me, I kept coming back to that, like, okay, well, let me, I don't know, like dip my toe in that idea, you know, versus just being like, yeah, whatever, that's not real. Right? Because that's what I always had done.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, no. Mm-mm. And it's like, well, hold on, that doesn't work for me. Clearly it hadn't been. So I was like, okay, so I kept coming back to that. And another thing, once I started kind of understanding how we tend to fall into these patterns, then I really was like determined to change. And I've never really shared this, so I'll share it because I recently, someone that's known me for a while but didn't know this little part of my story was like, oh my God. They were like, give me all your resources basically on how to like be successfully sober. And I was like, I didn't go to AA. I didn't go to a therapist right away for sobriety, for alcohol, right?
Right.
I had a fucking bad night. I noticed, right, I had that moment of clarity. And at the time I was reading this book on how to quit smoking cigarettes, and I applied the theory to drinking.
Nice.
And that's like how I quit. And then I started realizing I had like all these crazy emotions, and I was very angry. And I was like, oh my God, my friend happened to be there when I had a little sober episode. And he was like, you are not in your body. You are not in touch with like what is happening right now.
Yeah.
And I really think it would help you if you did some yoga. And I was like, those people are happy. I'm not happy. I don't know how to like be happy. And he was like, cool, I'll just teach you. And I was like, great. And he led me through a yoga class. And I was like, this is amazing.
Nice.
Amazing. I was like, this felt so good. Then I started doing a class. I'm going to try to make this short. And I started noticing a difference in how I was feeling and how less anxious I was. I was less irritated. I was able to kind of like sit with some of the emotions. At the time I lived really far away from a yoga studio. It was like a 2-hour process to like go to a class or longer. So I took a teacher training. I'm trying to keep this short. And in that teacher training, we started talking about like yoga philosophy and stuff. And of course I had like a wonderful teacher, and she's also a psychologist. And she really like, we sat in circle a lot. She asked us a lot of questions about like how we were feeling, or like things like, do we remember the first time where we felt like kind of like put down or like less than, or like hurt in a sense, like, okay, Johnny like called me ugly or whatever, like little like things that happen, right? Like kids are mean. Siblings are mean, right? And when you get picked on in certain family systems or in schools, it really does have an effect on you. And we were like talking in circle, and I forgot the question, but it was like, what happened? Like, what happened that made you think you weren't good enough, right? And I was like, I don't know. That was my answer. I don't know. Just like, okay. And so I listened to, I think there was 14 of us. So I listened to 13 other women tell like legit stuff, right? Like, my brothers used to pick on me and tease me and call me fat. Blah, 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 blah. I had a list, but whatever, right? Yeah. All sorts of stuff. And I was like, and I just started listening. And as I'm listening to them, I'm hearing what happened to me.
Wow.
And I'm like, and I just start bawling. And it was like really powerful.
Wow.
And from that moment, so what I heard, and I'm going to be very vulnerable, was my stepdad.
Mm.
telling me how stupid I am,
Mm.
how just anything. Like I could never fucking do anything right. I mean, I'd walk in the room and I would like do something wrong, right? Why are
Yeah.
you walking like that? Why'd you make that noise? What are you wearing? And I'm like, I couldn't just exist
Yeah.
in my body, in my
Yep.
being, without being a problem to this person. And I didn't realize how that affected me.
Mm.
And because then I created a story, right? That was validated every day of my life that I don't matter. I don't need to talk because when I talk, I get in trouble. When I walk, I get in trouble. When I breathe. So I learned how to be very quiet.
Mm.
And then, right, so I'm like getting older. I leave. And now I have this story
Yeah.
inside of me. And I wasn't aware of it at the time. And I start drinking more and more and more and doing the drugs and all the things, right? And then I stop. And my body is feeling all the stuff. So when I realized that this person helped create this story, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily blaming fully, but verbal abuse repeatedly for years has an effect on us. And I was like, no. My driving force in being sober for the last 12 years is to prove that he's wrong.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
That I've never taken a drink again.
Yeah.
I think I've thought about it maybe once or twice and been like, no. Because then he's right.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not the healthiest way to like go about it, but it was really powerful for me to be like, I was told something that's a lie. So
Yeah.
now if we think about the reasons why some of us drink or do whatever, anxiety, stress, right? Most common.
Yeah.
And it's like, where did we get the idea that drinking or substances or eating magically makes these things disappear?
Yeah.
Because in society, that's what it looks like.
Yep.
It's also normalized.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, whatever. They're in their 20s. They're young. Let them do whatever. And it's like, that's how this all starts.
Yeah.
Right? How many times did you and I, from family members, other people in our community, it's fine. It's okay. You're young. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it's like, and then, right? And I'm not blaming them either. I'm just saying, like, we're all under this false pretense that these things do something helpful for us.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where I was like, oh, I've been lied to. I've been duped.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a second. Like, that's not real.
Yeah.
Lena was like, how did we live the same childhood? I know. Wild. Right? Right? And
Thanks
it's just
for sharing that.
And it's, I don't share that, but I'm starting to share my personal parental things more because that's part of what I'm noticing with a lot of people who end up coming to me. We seem to have like similar family system dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And it's like, we all grow up in this world. All the people who bring us up, right? They're only doing the best they can.
Yeah.
Really, they are. And it's like, I decided to take control of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fuck this. Like, no. Right? Mm-hmm. And that was a powerful thing for me to realize that I had a choice.
Yeah.
Right? I had the choice to be like, that story is not true. that stupid story is still affects me less and less because I've learned and educated myself a lot. I've done a lot of different things to help shift my mind, and getting to know my true self and listen to those shitty thoughts. That was like another thing in helping me be like, oh, I have a choice, right? And like, again,
Right.
for me, it was like I could choose to listen to this person,
Right.
right? Because I had to like, you know, I know it's like my inner critic, right? My like lower mind ego, but I had to
Yeah.
like kind of pretend that it was my stepdad so that it would help me not listen to it.
Yeah.
Right? And be like, oh, these thoughts were like put here by someone who is like really hurt themselves.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they had no business raising anyone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hopefully my sister's not listening.
Well, hurt people, you know? And it's like,
yeah.
Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that story, because I think that a lot of people can relate to something similar. And it's good to hear those like big breakthroughs and to find out like where that is really coming from, and like that story that you kept telling yourself over and over and over again, and then it became reality, and then you had to dissociate yourself because you were so sick of the story, and now you finally like can live with it aside you and like communicate with that part of you that's now like calming down. And that's powerful.
Yeah. And it's like, we all know we're all amazing fucking people. Like, we really are. Like, you know, like, I always knew I was a good person. I just had someone telling me for a very large portion of my life that it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know? And I was just like, well, especially when you're a kid, right? You're like, well,
like time where like you're really like looking at the like elders as like, you know, correct, they're always right and they know what
they're always right.
Yeah, why? Yeah.
Right?
Totally. Yeah.
And if they weren't right, then like someone else would step in,
right,
and say something. That's what got me, where I was like, I like being like a teenager, I was like, something is not right here.
Yeah.
I was like, this just doesn't, no. You know, and I definitely dabbled in psychedelics as well when I was younger, and the one like benefit for me from that was like the validation that there was more to this life than like what we could see. Right? And I'm grateful I had that experience at a young age, and I don't abuse those things. Right?
Yeah.
You don't.
No,
they're medicine. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But okay. Let's drop in and connect to gratitude again, unless there's anything else you want to say, because I don't want this to keep freezing.
No. Yeah. No, I think that that we really touched on a lot of like why we're doing this and the benefit that we can see coming from it, as well as the benefit it is for us. So yeah, thanks for sharing your stories and being vulnerable there. That's why we're here.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to encourage, you know, everyone to, whoever, if you feel comfortable, right? Like, you could always share stuff with us, or maybe it will help you share stuff with someone that you're close to, that you trust. And just know that there is another way to go about life. I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes, but I was very much that person, and I am very much on the other side now. So, yeah.
Living proof.
What'd you say?
I said you're living proof that there's another way, you know, and you felt this certain way that you didn't ever thought it was going to change, and you changed it. So,
all right, let's close our eyes down and bring our hands on top of our heart space and come back to that beautiful seed of gratitude that we planted there in the beginning. And let's just take a big breath into our heart space. Open the mouth, release it. Inhale back into the heart. This time we're going to exhale and we're going to release our gratitude out into the universe. One more inhale into the heart. And exhale fully. I'm just thanking yourself in this moment. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
And yeah, hopefully next time I will have better internets.
Yeah, I told them when you were put your phone outside that you were traveling.
Yeah.
The States, and you're on a big adventure. So
I'm on a big adventure.
From Airbnb Wi-Fi to Airbnb Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I'm like, Starlink always now.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We're going to post this on our new page that, right, we made an Instagram, we'll make a TikTok and a YouTube, and this will all be on it, and we'll share it on our own account. That way we can like wrap everyone in, and yeah, so be on the lookout for that.
Cool. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.